Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Winkowski, and I'm the newly named Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for ICE. We really appreciate all of you coming out to discuss this very, very important case. I'd like to take a moment here to introduce Secretary Johnson, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. You know, the Secretary was just recently sworn in December, and we're very, very happy that he's taken the time from his very, very busy schedule to come down and discuss this very significant case. Thank you very much. And Mr. Secretary?
Good morning. Thank you very much, Tom. And thank you for your 40 years of public service, and thank you for coming on board here at ICE. I also want to thank the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Louisiana, who's here today in Washington, Ken Polite, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service for their work, along with DHS on this important case. Every day, the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security work to keep our nation safe. Every day, we protect our borders, we protect cyberspace, we protect air travel and transportation and critical infrastructure. We work to combat threats to our communities. A major part of our effort is the work of ICE Homeland Security Investigations, one of the largest investigative agencies in government, with jurisdiction over a wide variety of crimes spanning the U.S. and the entire globe. Today, I want to highlight the good work to bring down the good work by HSI, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Louisiana, and the Postal Inspection Service, which, by the way, was the very first federal law enforcement agency I ever worked with when I tried a case as a federal prosecutor 25 years ago. In bringing down, beginning with arrest in July and November of last year, one of the largest known online child exploitation operations in history, involving about 250 victims in 39 states and 5 countries. The primary target of Operation Roundtable was the administrator of a subscription-based website. The site had more than 27,000 members involved in producing and distributing child pornography on a massive scale. The majority of the victims of these heinous crimes were between the ages of 13 and 15, with 2 victims under the age of 3. To date, 14 individuals have been arrested in connection with this investigation, with additional arrests expected in the United States and overseas. These alleged perpetrators preyed upon the most innocent, most vulnerable members of our society, with no regard for the immediate or lasting harm they caused to the victims and their families. Child exploitation is also a shockingly common crime, especially online. Combating it requires a team effort. I thank our partners in federal law enforcement for their strong collaboration in this case and many others. It underscores the type of work our DHS men and women are doing every day across the United States, pursuing criminals and making our communities safer. But while this investigation and the arrest we've made are certainly positive steps in stopping this type of awful crime, the unfortunate fact is that many other children are still in danger. It reminds us all, parents, law enforcement, and citizens, that we must encourage safe online practices for children and encourage the reporting of suspicious activity to the appropriate authorities. This is a responsibility we share, and we all must do our part. I now would like to welcome the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Louisiana, who is here today in Washington from New Orleans, Ken Polite. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you. Congrats to you as well. Thank you so much, Secretary Johnson. It is a privilege and an honor to be here today to discuss Operation Roundtable. Operation Roundtable represents a strong, coordinated strike by Homeland Security, by the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and by several United States attorneys' offices around the country against the production and distribution of child pornography. It is a prime example of the importance of collaborative efforts within our law enforcement community. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Louisiana, based in New Orleans, worked closely with numerous U.S. attorneys' offices throughout this country during the course of this investigation. These offices, located in states such as Arizona, California, Georgia, Ohio, and Washington, all played an important role in this investigation. Indeed, federal prosecutors and agents all across our nation assisted my office with obtaining federal search warrants, with executing those search warrants, and conducting detention and removal hearings. Because of our collaborative efforts, as of today, 11 individuals have been charged in my district with crimes involving the sexual exploitation of minors arising from this investigation, including, as Secretary Johnson referred, Jonathan Johnson, the administrator of the child pornography website itself. On February 20th of 2014, my office charged Johnson with operating a child exploitation enterprise, one of the first offices to actually charge an individual with this offense. According to the Bill of Information, from 2012 through 2013, Johnson administered child pornography websites out of his home in order to distribute images and videos depicting the sexual victimization of children. Johnson's websites had over 27,000 members, and Johnson frequently utilized and encouraged other members and uploaders to access popular social networking sites to search for and then locate unsuspecting minor boys for the purpose of having them create sexually explicit videos. Johnson and other website members and uploaders created fake female internet personas in order to entice and initiate online communications with these young boys. If convicted, Johnson faces a mandatory minimum sentence of not less than 20 years and a maximum sentence of life. Two of the other defendants charged in this case include Stanley Zodon of Tuckerton, New Jersey, and Daniel DeVar of Brunswick, Georgia. Recently, both of those men entered pleas of guilty to conspiracy to produce child pornography with Mr. Johnson. Both of those men now face a mandatory term of imprisonment of not less than 15 years in prison and up to 30 years. In addition, all of the defendants in this case face substantial terms of supervised release upon their potential release from prison. The law provides for a term of court-supervised release of up to life. Moreover, if convicted, each defendant will be required to register as a sex offender pursuant to the Sex Offender Registration and Notification Act. I greatly appreciate the tireless work of the agents and prosecutors involved in this successful endeavor, particularly U.S. Postal Inspector Allison Hoffine, ICE Special Agent Michael Brunette, and AUSA Brian Kleba of my office, who collectively served as the law enforcement points of contact for this entire operation. Our investigation continues. I look forward to our continued partnership in order to ensure that the internet is a safer place for our most vulnerable citizens, our young children. We'll now hear from Deputy Director Daniel Ragsdale.
Good morning. I'd just like to give a little context for our work in this area. ICE's Office of Homeland Security Investigation is one of the worldwide leaders in the fight against child exploitation. Operation Predator is our main program where we can collaborate with law enforcement partners from around the world in child exploitation investigations. Since the launch of Operation Predator in 2003, we have arrested more than 10,000 individuals for crimes against children. In fiscal year 2013 alone, our special agents arrested more than 2,000 individuals and identified more than 900 victims associated with these crimes. One of our best weapons against child predators is our Cybercrime Center, or C3. It's a state-of-the-art center with computer forensics laboratories used to recover digital evidence and uncover clues in these complex cases. C3, in fact, has been monitoring illegal activity on the Tor, or the Onion router, since November 2011. ICE is also a founding member and current chair of the Virtual Global Task Force. The VGT joins law enforcement agencies, non-governmental organizations, private sector partners from around the world to fight child exploitation information and images that travel over the internet. We are developing new and effective ways of combating child sexploitation. In October 2013, ICE developed the first Operation Predator app for the iPhone. Child predators are having a harder time finding and are hiding from anyone who has an iPhone who can access photos of suspects and share this information with law enforcement. ICE will soon have an updated version of this app ready for downloading. We believe that education is the key to prevention. Our iGuardian initiative is our most recent plan to educate and inform children, teens, parents, and teachers about the dangers of online environments and how to stay safe online. We are also partnering with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's NetSmart and Internet Crimes Against Children task forces in Project iGuardian. This campaign will be launched later this month in Southern California. ICE will continue to work with our partners to halt the horrendous crime of child exploitation. I thank you all for being here today, and I'd like to now turn and introduce Chief Inspector from the Postal Service, Gerald O'Farrell.
Good morning. For more than a century, the Postal Inspection Service has investigated the sexual exploitation of children. We are among the first federal law enforcement agencies to combat criminals who produced and trafficked in child pornography. Today, predators employ sophisticated technology to facilitate these crimes. The Internet offers a global community of anonymous information sharing, instantly, anytime, any place. Yet there remains a close nexus of predators who attempt to misuse the nation's mail system to communicate with co-conspirators and their innocent victims and to distribute exploitive materials. Operation Roundtable is a first-rate example of how law enforcement agencies work together to halt the abuse of children. It stems from our investigation of an offender who exploited children via the mail. In the course of the investigation, we uncovered the identity of an administrator of a secret, members-only child exploitation website. We partnered with Homeland Security Investigations and sought the assistance of the Department of Justice's Child Exploitation and Obscenity Section and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to locate the predators and the victims they exploited. The results of this investigation is before you today. The arrest of these 14 individuals cannot erase the harm suffered by the more than 250 child victims we have identified in this case. But it is an action that will help prevent the victimization of yet more innocent children who might otherwise have been abused. We remain steadfast in our mission to identify, target, and arrest those who prey on the innocent. We know that a child's safety is one of the most important and certainly the most rewarding deliveries a Postal Inspection Service can offer. Thank you.
And now we're going to open it up to a few questions. I just ask you to stand, say who you are, what outlet you're representing, and then address the individual you would like to have the question responded. Andrea.
Andrea McCarran, WUSA, CBS, and Gannett. A couple of clarification questions. Was this operation exclusively boys? One of you mentioned that there were male victims. Are you working or have you been able to identify and rescue the victims? And are you going after any of the 27,000 members? Thank you.
Of the, I believe it's slightly over 250 victims that we've identified thus far, a very small percentage of them were females. I believe it's 3 to 4 of them were in fact females. In terms of rescuing potential victims, that is a process that is certainly underway, both within the United States as well as abroad, and that work will certainly continue as we identify additional potential victims. And then in terms of the other 27,000 members of this enterprise that Mr. Johnson operated. I can neither confirm nor deny certain investigations of particular individuals, but as I stated, our investigation certainly continues. It is ongoing.
You, sir, please.
Hi, Eric Tucker with the Associated Press. And this question is for anyone up here. Can you talk a little bit about how you penetrated or infiltrated this network and how you first came to learn Mr. Johnson?
It's an investigator's question.
Inspector Postal would probably be that.
Well, obviously we use our own investigative techniques to identify an offender who used the mail. Once we identified that this was a large network that involved the internet and many other countries, at that point in time, we felt it was appropriate to bring in Homeland Security to do the investigation with us, because this is one area in which they excel at. Obviously, we're not going to talk about investigative techniques that we use, but sufficient to say that the tools at our disposal at Homeland Security are very good, and I think it really allowed us to pursue this case to the results you see today.
You, ma'am, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aurora Hernandez from Telemundo Network. My question is specifically to Secretary Johnson. Is there any update on the Malaysian Airlines surge? And on another topic.
I'm sorry, what was the first question?
I'm sorry.
Is there an update on the Malaysian?
Yeah. Is there any update on the Malaysian Airlines surge? And on another topic, with regards to the revision of the immigration enforcement policies, many activists say a revision is not necessary. That what is necessary is for the motion memorandums to be really implemented across the board. Is that one of the options you are looking at in your vision, and when will it be completed?
Well, first on the Malaysian Airlines flight, as you know, the Malaysian government is in the lead in the investigation of the disappearance of the flight. There are a very large number of other nations supporting the effort to find the aircraft. At this time, we don't have any hard information to tell us about what led to the disappearance, but we are actively looking, as you know. In connection with the review, I pledged when I took office in December that I was going to continually evaluate and reevaluate our removal priorities to ensure that we have it right, and that is the effort that is underway right now. So it is an effort to reevaluate and evaluate our removal priorities and other reforms that we might make in connection with the enforcement of our immigration laws.
And when will that revision be completed?
I don't have a precise timeline for you right at this moment.
And we have time for one more question, sir.
Jake Gibson, Fox News. On Malaysia, has it changed security on any domestic flights, the investigation, or flights into the U.S.? Has it changed practices?
We continually evaluate whether to alter our security practices in any way. As I stated last week at one of the 4 hearings that I testified at before Congress, insofar as domestic flights are concerned, insofar as flights out of the United States, and insofar as flights into the United States are concerned, we routinely check the Interpol database for stolen passports, and so we have a pretty high degree of confidence there that if someone is trying to fly on a stolen passport from any one of those points, that would be detected by the U.S. government.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We have some members of the ICE Office of Public Affairs to respond to any requests for one-on-ones. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.